One Year Bible, the Living Bible Paraphrased, May 16. 1 Samuel chapter 18 verses 4 through chapter 19 verse 24. King Saul now kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home anymore. He was Saul's special assistant, and he always carried out his assignments successfully. So Saul made him commander of his troops, an appointment that was applauded by the army and general public alike. But something had happened when the victorious Israeli army was returning home after David had killed Goliath. Women came out from all the towns along the way to celebrate and to cheer for King Saul, and were singing and dancing for joy with tambourines and cymbals. However, this was their song: Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Of course, Saul was very angry. "What's this?" he said to himself. "They credit David with 10,000s and me only with thousands. Next they'll be making him their king." So from that time on, King Saul kept a jealous watch on David. The very next day, in fact, a tormenting spirit from God overwhelmed Saul, and he began to rave like a madman. David began to soothe him by playing the harp, as he did whenever this happened. But Saul, who was fiddling with his spear, suddenly hurled it at David, intending to pin him to the wall. But David jumped aside and escaped. This happened another time too, for Saul was afraid of him and jealous because the Lord had left him and was now with David. Finally, Saul banned him from his presence and demoted him to the rank of captain. But the controversy put David more than ever in the public eye. David continued to succeed in everything he undertook, for the Lord was with him. When King Saul saw this, he became even more afraid of him. All Israel and Judah loved him, for he was as one of them. One day Saul said to David, "I am ready to give you my oldest daughter, Merab, as your wife. But first you must prove yourself to be a real soldier by fighting the Lord's battles." For Saul thought to himself, "I'll send him out against the Philistines and let them kill him rather than doing it myself." "Who am I that I should be the king's son-in-law?" David exclaimed. "My father's family is nothing." But when the time arrived for the wedding, Saul married her to Adriel, a man from Meholath, instead. In the meantime, Saul's daughter Michal had fallen in love with David, and Saul was delighted when he heard about it. "Here's another opportunity to see him killed by the Philistines," Saul said to himself. But to David he said, "You can be my son-in-law after all, for I will give you my youngest daughter." Then Saul instructed his men to say confidently to David that the king really liked him a lot, and that they all loved him and thought he should accept the king's proposition and become his son-in-law. But David replied, "How can a poor man like me from an unknown family find enough dowry to marry the daughter of a king?" When Saul's men reported this back to him, he told them, "Tell David that the only dowry I need is 100 dead Philistines. Vengeance on my enemies is all I want." But what Saul had in mind was that David would be killed in the fight. David was delighted to accept the offer, so before the time limit expired, he and his men went out and killed 200 Philistines and presented their foreskins to King Saul. So Saul gave Michal to him. When the king realized how much the Lord was with David and how immensely popular he was with all the people, he became even more afraid of him and grew to hate him more with every passing day. Whenever the Philistine army attacked, David was more successful against them than all the rest of Saul's officers, so David's name became very famous throughout the land. Saul now urged his aides and his son Jonathan to assassinate David, But Jonathan, because of his close friendship with David, told him what his father was planning. "Tomorrow morning," he warned him, "you must find a hiding place out in the fields. I'll ask my father to go out there with me, and I'll talk to him about you. Then I'll tell you everything I can find out." The next morning, as Jonathan and his father were talking together, he spoke well of David and begged him not to be against David. "He's never done anything to harm you," Jonathan pleaded. "He has always helped you in any way he could. Have you forgotten about the time he risked his life to kill Goliath, and how the Lord brought a great victory to Israel as a result? You were certainly happy about it then. Why should you now murder an innocent man? There's no reason for it all." Finally Saul agreed and vowed, "As the Lord lives, he shall not be killed." Afterwards Jonathan called David and told him what had happened. Then he took David to Saul, and everything was as it had been before. War broke out shortly after that, and David led his troops against the Philistines, and slaughtered many of them, and put to flight their entire army. But one day, as Saul was sitting at home, listening to David playing the harp, suddenly the tormenting spirit from the Lord attacked him. He had his spear in his hand, and hurled it at David in an attempt to kill him. But David dodged out of the way and fled into the night, leaving the spear embedded in the timber of the wall. Saul sent troops to watch David's house and kill him when he came out in the morning. "If you don't get away tonight," Michal warned him, "you'll be dead by morning." So she helped him to get down to the ground through a window. Then she took an idol and put it in his bed and covered it with blankets, with its head on a pillow of goat's hair. When the soldiers came to arrest David and take him to Saul, she told him he was sick and couldn't get out of bed. Saul said to bring him in his bed then, so that he could kill him. But when they came to carry him out, they discovered that it was only an idol. "Why have you deceived me and let my enemy escape?" Saul demanded of Michal. "I had to," Michal replied. "He threatened to kill me if I didn't help him." And that way David got away and went to Ramah to see Samuel, and told him all that Saul had done to him. So Samuel took David with him to live at Naioth. When the report reached Saul that David was at Naioth in Ramah, he sent soldiers to capture him. But when they arrived and saw Samuel and the other prophets prophesying, the Spirit of God came upon them, and they also began to prophesy. When Saul heard what had happened, he sent other soldiers, but they too prophesied. The same thing happened to a third time. Then Saul himself went to Ramah and arrived at the great well of Seku. "Where are Samuel and David?" he demanded. Someone told him they were at Naioth. But on the way to Naioth, the Spirit of the Lord came upon Saul, and he, too, began to prophesy. He tore off his clothes and lay naked all day and all night, prophesying with Samuel's prophets. Saul's men were incredulous. "What?" they exclaimed. "Is Saul a prophet too?" The Gospel of John, chapter 8, verses 30 through 59. Then many of the Jewish leaders who heard him say these things began believing him to be the Messiah. Jesus said to them, "You are truly my disciples if you live as I tell you to, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." "But we are descendants of Abraham," they said, "and have never been slaves to any man on earth. What do you mean, set free?" Jesus replied, "You are slaves of sin, every one of you, and slaves don't have rights, but the Son has every right there is. So if the Son sets you free, you will indeed be free. Yes, I realize you are descendants of Abraham, and yet some of you are trying to kill me because my message does not find a home within your hearts. I am telling you what I saw when I was with my father, but you are following the advice of your father." "My father is Abraham," they declared. "No," Jesus replied, "for if he were, you would follow his good example, but instead you are trying to kill me, and all because I told you the truth I heard from God. Abraham wouldn't do a thing like that. No, you are obeying your real father when you act that way." They replied, "We were not born out of wedlock. Our true father is God himself." Jesus told them, "If that were so, then you would love me, for I have come to you from God. I am not here on my own, but he sent me. Why can't you understand what I am saying? Is it because you are prevented from doing so? For you are the children of your father the devil, and you love to do the evil things he does. He was a murderer from the beginning and a hater of truth. There is not an iota of truth in him. When he lies, it is perfectly normal, for he is the father of liars. And so when I tell the truth, you just naturally don't believe it." Which of you can truthfully accuse me of one single sin? No one. And since I am telling you the truth, why don't you believe me? Anyone whose father is God listens gladly to the words of God. Since you don't, it proves you aren't his children. "You Samaritan, foreigner, devil," the Jewish leaders snarled. "Didn't we say all along you were possessed by a demon?" "No," Jesus said, "I have no demon in me, for I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. And though I have no wish to make myself great, God wants this for me and judges those who reject me. With all the earnestness I have, I tell you this: no one who obeys me shall ever die." The leaders of the Jews said, "Now we know you are possessed by a demon. Even Abraham and the mightiest prophets died, yet you say that obeying you will keep a man from dying. So you are greater than our father Abraham, who died, and greater than the prophets who died? Who do you think you are?" And Jesus told them this: "If I am merely boasting about myself, it doesn't count. But it is my Father, and you claim him as your God, who is saying these glorious things about me. But you do not even know him. I do. If I said otherwise, I would be as great a liar as you. But it is true. I know him and fully obey him. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. He knew I was coming and was glad." Jewish leaders: "You aren't even 50 years old. Sure, you've seen Abraham." Jesus: "The absolute truth is that I was in existence before Abraham was ever born." At that point, the Jewish leaders picked up stones to kill him, but Jesus was hidden from them and walked past them and left the temple. Psalm 112, verses 1 through 10. Praise the Lord, for all who fear God and trust in him are blessed beyond expression. Yes, happy is the man who delights in doing his commands. His children shall be honored everywhere, for good men's sons have a special heritage. He himself shall be wealthy, and his good deeds will never be forgotten. When darkness overtakes him, light will come bursting in. He is kind and merciful, and all goes well for the generous man who conducts his business fairly. Such a man will not be overthrown by evil circumstances. God's constant care of him will make a deep impression on all who see it. He does not fear bad news, nor live in dread of what may happen, for he is settled in his mind that Jehovah will take care of him. That is why he is not afraid, but can calmly face his foes. He gives generously to those in need. His deeds will never be forgotten. He has influence and honor. Evil-minded men will be infuriated when they see all this. They will gnash their teeth in anger and slink away, their hopes thwarted. Proverbs chapter 15, verses 12 through 14. A mocker stays away from wise men because he hates to be scolded. A happy face means a glad heart. A sad face means a breaking heart. A wise man is hungry for truth, while the mocker feeds on trash.